Welcome to History for 4th grade. We are looking at pages 213 to 214, and this is for lesson 147. We are looking at the beginning of World War II and these attacks. And then there is a skill sheet, map skill sheet 21 that you're going to do at the end of this lesson. Also, there is homework for this lesson, but you can do that when you're done with the lesson, or you can save it and do it at the end of your school day. But it is to read pages 214 to 215, so picking up where we leave off, we're going to stop at U.S. builds the Air Force, and then to pick that up, pick and read to 215, and then on pages 220 and 221, the CCU 17, you're going to do numbers 10 to 20 on paper, okay? So that is, that's the homework. If it works better to do it at the beginning of class on the next day, just make sure that that gets done. This is the way we're doing this. It is kind of flexible, so you guys can move it. If we were still in school, I probably would have moved it because it is Wednesday on our school days, but just make sure that you get that done. And so I'm going to ask a few review questions, then we're going to jump right into what you're going to be reading and explain how some of those things happened, and then I'll let you get to it. Okay, so what are people called who rule by force and allow their subjects little, if any, freedom? That's right, dictators. Dictators. Who was the communist dictator of the Soviet Union? Joseph Stalin. Yes, he was the communist dictator of the Soviet Union. What type of government did Mussolini have in Italy? Fascism. Very good. What type of government claims to own businesses, homes, and lands? Communism. Yep, very good. And what type of government allows the people to own their property, but they can't do what they think is best with it? And that one is fascism, okay? So they allow you to own your property, but you're not able to do what you want with it, okay? Before we jump right into those pages, I almost forgot about the presidents, but we're gonna go ahead and sing the presidents, so you can look on pages 256 and 257 if you need to pause the video to turn to that or find that, do that, but we're gonna start with the first one, okay? We're gonna sing the song. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk and Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant and Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump was the next one. All right. And so those are our presidents. Don't forget to review your states and capitals. And we're actually just turn back one page. We're going to say the states and capitals, and then we'll talk about World War II. Okay. Just at the top: Montgomery, Alabama; Juneau, Alaska; Phoenix, Arizona; Little Rock, Arkansas; Sacramento, California; Denver, Colorado; Hartford, Connecticut; Dover, Delaware; Tallahassee, Florida; Atlanta, Georgia; Honolulu, Hawaii; Boise, Idaho; Springfield, Illinois; Indianapolis, Indiana; Des Moines, Iowa; Topeka, Kansas; Frankfort, Kentucky; Baton Rouge, Louisiana; Augusta, Maine; Annapolis, Maryland; Boston, Massachusetts; Lansing, Michigan; St. Paul, Minnesota; Jackson, Mississippi; Jefferson City, Missouri; Helena, Montana; Lincoln, Nebraska; Carson City, Nevada; Concord, New Hampshire; Trenton, New Jersey; Santa Fe, New Mexico; Albany, New York; Raleigh, North Carolina; Bismarck, North Dakota; Columbus, Ohio; Oklahoma City, Oklahoma; Salem, Oregon; Harrisburg, Pennsylvania; Providence, Rhode Island; Columbia, South Carolina; Pierre, South Dakota; Nashville, Tennessee; Austin, Texas; Salt Lake City, Utah; Montpelier, Vermont; Richmond, Virginia; Olympia, Washington; Charleston, West Virginia; Madison, Wisconsin, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. Very good. All right, so the World War II began because of several different things. And so the leaders of Soviet Union, Italy, Germany, and Japan each had gained powerful control over the people of their country, where those people could not do anything to stop their government from what they were about to do. So Italy attacked Ethiopia in Africa. Okay, they're pretty close. If you know where Italy, the boot is, it's in the Mediterranean Sea. Ethiopia is right across the Mediterranean Sea from it. Okay, and so they attacked there. Germany began to attack small, weak countries in Europe. So some of those smaller countries were getting attacked and taken over. Japan attacked China in Asia, as we kind of talked about. They started attacking them back in 1931. And so this is all leading up to World War II. And then the Soviet Union watched and waited. They wouldn't just see what happened. The League of Nations had been established to maintain peace, but what were they doing about all of these attacks? And so we're going to see many of the countries of the world criticized these countries for attacking and overtaking other countries. But they didn't do anything to stop it. They didn't step in and stop the country from taking over another. They just watched and didn't really do anything. They just said, you shouldn't have done that, basically. It was like a slap in the wrist. It's like if you had disobeyed your parents and you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and they said, well, just do what I say next time. Would you feel like they had really taken care of the problem, or would you say that they didn't really care that you didn't obey them? I would say in their actions, they were saying they didn't care. Not that they really didn't, but their actions were saying that. And that's what the rest of the world was saying to Italy, Germany, Soviet Union, and Japan. They were saying, in a sense, they were saying, just don't do it again. That sort of thing. Okay. And every time Germany attacked another country, they'd say, oh, well, I'm satisfied, we're going to stop. It's like a criminal saying, I won't steal anything again. And then the next day, what does he do? He goes back and he steals, because he didn't mean what he said. Okay. And that's what Germany kept showing the world, was that they didn't mean what they said. And so, but there are some things to note, that not all Germans trusted Hitler. Many Russians hated communism. Some Italians disagreed with Mussolini, and many Japanese disliked the idea of war. But each of these groups of people were helpless. They were powerless to stop their government from doing these things. And so I think we need to recognize that not the entire country was on board with what the government of that country was doing. Just like as U.S. citizens, we may not always agree with the decisions that are made in our government. So we have to recognize that other countries have the same thing. And I think that's something that we want to make sure that we are being sensitive to that, and not just labeling an entire country and its people, as we've been known to do. And it's not just us, other countries do the same thing, but it's something we need to guard against. And so they started having, there were all of these countries that were just being crushed and overtaken by these governments. And so Hitler's army by 1939 had attacked and taken over Austria and Czechoslovakia. And so those countries were now under German rule. And if you've seen the movie Sound of Music, that is based in Austria. And that's around this time where Hitler comes in. And so you may have seen that, and that's that's actually a true, a story about a true family that does escape from Austria and gets to come to America, and some of their ancestors are still living in America, which is great. But Hitler was going to attack Poland, and they had made a secret agreement with the Soviet Union that they would divide Poland between the Soviet Union and Germany, as if they conquered it. And so that was the plan, but no one knew exactly how that was going to happen. But England and France had warned Hitler, that if Germany attacked Poland, they were going to help Poland. And so this really is what started the war, is that because Germany goes in to attack Poland, England and France come in and they fight against it, but they weren't able to defeat them. They weren't able to push the Germans back. And so unfortunately, Poland was overtaken and divided between the Soviet Union and between the Germans. And it was a short-ish battle. It was about 3 weeks that it took. And it was just another country that was just being sucked into this communism and this the Nazism, it just being completely overtaken by this. And so it goes over several countries that they attack in 1940, Norway and Denmark. Germany defeats Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, and then they invaded France. And France and England, or Great Britain, were the last two countries that Germany had not taken in Europe. And so when they invaded France and took over, Great Britain looked at the US and they said, help, we're next. and so they, I think the morale kind of fell. Everyone was thinking, it's inevitable. Europe is all going to be under one government, and it's an awful government. And so, they were able, the Germans had tricked everyone into thinking they would stop, but they just continued to take more and more and more until there was nothing that we could do about it peaceably. This was, and of course, we're now in the midst of the war, and so it was something that we were going to. It was going to lead the U.S. into war. It, of course, does not bring us into the war right away, but we're going to see how you're going to read the rest of these 2 pages and see how that is going to be laid out. But I'm going to ask just a couple questions, and then I'm going to let you go to do your reading, pages 213, and you could read all the way to 215, and then answer those questions at the back. Don't forget your map skill sheet 21. And let me just ask you these 2 questions. What country did Hitler demand that it give a piece of their land to Germany? Okay, they had only demanded a piece of their land. Which country? Poland, okay? And what 2 countries said they would protect Poland from Germany if attacked? England and France, okay, so very good. So I'll let you go ahead and read those and answer all the questions that you need to. Don't forget that map, and then we will see you in the next lesson.